When was the last time that you actually recognized a brand of hearing aids at Costco? Hey guys, Cliff Olson, Doctor of Audiology and founder of Applied Hearing Solutions in Phoenix, Arizona, and in this video, I'm taking a hard look at all the different brands of hearing aids that Costco sells and try to figure out why you've never heard of them before. In early 2014, major hearing aid manufacturer Sonova started offering their Phonak hearing aid brand inside of Costco Hearing Centers. This shocked everybody, and I mean everybody, because this was the first time that a major hearing aid manufacturer put their flagship hearing aid brand inside of the discount warehouse retailer. Approximately 5 years later, in 2019, Sonova also became the manufacturer for the private labeled Kirkland Signature 9.0 and 10.0 hearing aids. However, just over 3 years later, Costco and Sonova decided to part ways. This was at least in part due to reliability issues from the Sonova manufactured KS 10.0 hearing aids. And since then, we have never seen another premium global hearing aid brand enter Costco. Now, this might seem weird to you, but there's actually a reason why you do not typically see major brands inside of discount retailers like this, and I'm going to share all of the reasons why with you in this video. But before I do me a huge favor, click that like button, really helps out the channel, and if you are not yet subscribed to the channel with notifications turned on, go ahead and do that as well. It's greatly appreciated. And let me know down in the comment section why you believe you do not see any premium flagship hearing aid brands sold in Costco anymore. Now, if you go to Costco.com or you happen to walk into a Costco Hearing Center, you're likely going to see up to 5 different brands that they sell. You'll see brand names like Rexton, Jabra, Philips, Sound Gear, and even Sennheiser. Now, you might actually recognize some of these brands, but I would bet that it's not because of their hearing aids. In particular, companies like Jabra, Philips, and Sennheiser have all been consumer electronic brands historically. But the thing that most people do not realize is that all of these brands inside of Costco are either owned by major hearing aid manufacturers or the name has been licensed by a hearing aid manufacturer. For instance, Rexton is actually owned by a company named Savantos, which happens to own the flagship hearing aid brand Signia. Jabra is owned by a company called GN, and GN also owns the flagship brand ReSound. Philips is actually a brand name that is licensed by the major hearing aid manufacturer Demont, who happens to be the owner of the flagship brand Oticon. Sound Gear used to be a company that primarily focused on hearing protection, but that company is actually owned by United States-based hearing aid manufacturer Starkey. And Sennheiser is owned by none other than Sonova, who happens to be the parent company of Phonak. Now let's get into the real reasons why you do not see any of these flagship brand hearing aids inside of Costco, starting with the first reason, which is channel segmentation. Channel segmentation is when a manufacturer sells different versions of their product in different sales channels. They do this to protect their relationships with their existing distributors, and in the case of hearing care professionals, they don't want to upset the independent channels that they sell their hearing aids at by selling the exact same hearing aid inside of Costco. They also do this to help prevent consumer price comparisons by having 2 different brand names on their products. This is actually very common inside of multiple industries, including appliances, consumer electronics, auto parts, and even mattresses. While this does still continue to work to some degree, it is much more effective when you do not have an informed consumer, and with the internet nowadays, it's very difficult to not be informed. You just kind of have to know where to look and know which YouTubers to follow. The second reason is channel conflict avoidance. This is where manufacturers avoid selling the exact same product inside of 2 different competing channels because it would upset their existing partners. And this is definitely happening because back when Phonak first put their brand of hearing aids inside of Costco, it upset the independent hearing aid clinic channel extremely bad, to the point where I don't think Phonak ever fully recovered from it. I still know hearing aid clinic owners who refuse to sell Phonak hearing aids inside of their clinics because of what Sonova did over 10 years ago by putting the Phonak brand inside of Costco. I mean, hearing care professionals do not like when major hearing aid manufacturers put an off-brand of hearing aids inside of Costco. Just imagine how much worse it would be if all of them put their top-tier flagship brands in there. The third reason is private labeling, otherwise known as white labeling. This is where the retailer, i.e. Costco, actually owns the brand, but they have a hearing aid manufacturer create the product for them. Think of the Amazon Basics brand. Clearly, Amazon Basics is owned by Amazon, but they do not manufacture these products. products. They actually go out and find suppliers who make the products, and then they slap the Amazon Basics name on it. Private labeling or white labeling is actually a huge issue in Australia because nobody who's buying hearing aids in Australia really has a clue of what brand they're actually buying, and that's done intentionally to deceive the hearing aid user. The only way to prevent this in Australia is to go to an independent clinic that actually sells the flagship hearing aid brands. But I digress. Now, the fourth reason that this is occurring is something called price fencing. Price fencing is a pricing strategy that actually prevents individuals from being able to compare prices between different channels. This essentially allows a hearing aid manufacturer to have their cake and eat it too. If you're looking to get that premium flagship pair of hearing aids for significantly cheaper by going online and finding a different clinic that sells them, you're not actually going to find them, and that's intentional, because they will have different brand names, and oftentimes they'll even rename their features to something different so you don't realize that they're very similar devices. Also, if everyone were to go out and purchase the low-priced, non-familiar name brand hearing aid and not purchase the premium flagship brand hearing aids from these hearing aid manufacturers, then the hearing aid manufacturers would probably go out of business because the premium brands are really what are making these companies profitable. The fifth reason why is a tiered product strategy. A tiered product strategy allows hearing aid manufacturers to target a different segment of the population. Some people want the best of the best when it comes to hearing aid technology, and they're willing to pay for it. And other people either just want or need the lowest cost product that they can possibly find. If major hearing aid manufacturers sold their flagship products to Costco, and then Costco charged a premium for those flagship products, just like independent hearing aid clinics do, then hearing aid manufacturers would miss the entire low end of the market. On the other hand, if hearing aid manufacturers only had their cheaper hearing aid brands inside of Costco and independent hearing aid clinics, they would not be able to maximize their revenue from the high end of the market. To prevent this, they put their cheaper hearing aid brands inside of retail clinics like Costco, and they put their premium flagship brands inside of the independent channel. And the sixth reason why you do not see the flagship hearing aid brands inside of Costco is reputation management. By most accounts, it was a major disaster for Phonak when the Costco Kirkland Signature 10.0 hearing aid ran into reliability issues to the point where it removed Phonak hearing aids from their shelves. But can you imagine how bad it would have been if the Phonak brand was actually stamped on the outside of that hearing aid? Not only would this have resulted in a significant loss in sales at Costco, but it would have also damaged the reputation of Phonak inside of the independent hearing aid channel. Fortunately for Phonak, not a lot of people realized that the KS 10.0 hearing aids were manufactured by Sonova and shared a lot of the same components as the Phonak Audeo Paradise hearing aids. On top of that, if for whatever reason you had a bad experience at Costco, or the person who worked with you at Costco just wasn't that good at treating hearing loss with hearing aids, the hearing aid manufacturers would not want you taking that negative experience around that flagship brand and carry it with you into an independent hearing aid clinic. Now, you may have realized that Costco has not actually brought back their Kirkland Signature brand of hearing aids since this disaster happened in 2022. And I personally believe the reason why is reputation management. I mean, Costco was the one who took the brunt of the blame for this battery reliability issue inside of their devices. And regardless of whether or not they were the manufacturer of those hearing aids, if your name is stamped on the outside of it, individuals who wear those devices are going to blame you. And if Costco is going to continue to source cheaper hearing aids from these manufacturers, it's probably a good idea that they don't put their own name on it. In fact, at this point, neither the hearing aid manufacturers nor Costco want their brands on these hearing aids that are sold at Costco, which is why they created up all these other brands to put on them so you don't blame the hearing aid manufacturer. And if you ask me, reputation management is the main reason why these hearing aid manufacturers nor Costco want their brand names on these hearing aids. If something goes wrong in this low end of the market channel, they do not want that negative publicity affecting their high-end hearing aid sales inside of independent hearing aid clinics. Of course, this is all my opinion, and I could be completely wrong. Now, you might be wondering, is this even legal considering that hearing aids are actually medical devices? I mean, hearing aids are not like TVs or washing machines. They're tools that are used by hearing care professionals to actually treat a medical condition. I mean, at a minimum, even if it's not illegal, you would think that it's unethical, right? Well, apparently not. But to be fair, this is not just something that happens inside of Costco hearing centers. This is also something that is fairly common inside of corporate-owned hearing aid chains and franchise clinics, for many of the same reasons that I just explained. But hey, at least now you know. But I want to hear from you. Does it actually bother you that hearing aid manufacturers have completely different brand names that they sell inside of Costco hearing centers? Let me know why down in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next video.